So thanks for the introduction. So if y'all can kind of share a little bit about, what was your career plan growing up, if you had one, and did it lead to your current career now?
If I'm being completely honest, I did not have a career plan when I was growing up. I wanted to be a dental hygienist, and I've switched my career path a couple of times. I was doing BS economics first, then I switched over to dental hygienist. I did one semester, and then I realized this is not something that I want to do for the rest of my life. And then I took one programming course, C++, at Colin, and I realized this is where my interest is. And then I switched over to cybersecurity and ended up completing my associates from Colin from 2019 to 2021. So yeah, with that being said, while I was doing my associates, I pretty much planned how I wanted to do this and where I wanted to see myself in the next 5 years. I would say while I was still taking CCNA 1, 2, 3, 4 courses during my associates, I was taking courses online just to prepping myself for CCNA certifications, CompTIA certifications, A+, Net+, Security+, CCNA, so that before I actually have my associate's degree, I have my certification as well, so that I can kickstart my career rather than waiting 6-7 months to get my first job. For me personally, I can't really say about for everyone. For myself, the courses I call in, the associate courses and the certification is what helped me get my foot in the door in the industry and land my first ever job. I still remember my first IT job was working with Texas Instrument as a NOC level 1 analyst, and I got that job totally on the basis of a CCNA certification, and I had my job before I even had my degree. So yeah, for me, I feel like in our industry, the degree is very important. Obviously, you won't ever get a job if you don't have a degree in the IT. And I also feel like certification plays a great role. Along with the degree, certification plays a great role. You have to keep yourself updated because in the IT, things are moving way too fast. So you need to keep yourself updated. So for me, certification and associate's degree is what kick-started my career.
Mine's a little bit different. I mean, I'm going to really date myself here, but I came up doing computers when DOS was the only thing you had. You only had the command prompt. So I've been kind of in the game for a bit, but took a pause out of high school. I joined the Marine Corps out of high school, did 4 years active duty there. Took another little break, did 6 years of Army psychological operations, so that's 6 years or so. But most recently I've landed, since I can't pick one apparently, the Air Force Reserves, where I'm doing network operations. So I do a little bit of that with the military, and I got the position that I'm at now. I was originally the IT support about 1.5 years ago with this company and moved over internally with them. And while I didn't have a degree, I had a Security Plus, I had a Net Plus. Gosh, I feel like maybe an A+ in there somewhere. I don't know. There's a lot of CompTIA mixed in there. That definitely helped. I've noticed that a lot of companies, some of the newer ones, are big on culture fit. When I did that last interview, I think I only had about 2 technical questions. And just as a heads up for everybody, they like to know, about TCP/IP or TCP/IP, what the 3-way handshake is, and if you can get along with everybody else. Certifications are cool, I've noticed, but I've also found that if you have a CCNA and Cisco, you can probably learn Juniper. So they just want to know that you can learn something and you are willing to stick with something. I think my director of IT services, no degree. My cybersecurity boss, no degree. Me, kind of a degree. But that's been my experience so far. Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Sorry, unmute. Thank you for that. And y'all are, I can tell already, going to touch on some other questions. We have a list of questions, and it's good. You're kind of hitting on a couple, so that we'll kind of stay on. So if you've answered a little bit of it, you can expand on it. But the next question is just, how did you get into IT, and how did you get the job that you have now? You alluded to it, but if you want to mention a little bit more.
For me, it's kind of the weirdest thing. I like to tell people, just go for the jobs, even if you don't think you're qualified. I had a short list of about 6 companies. And this came from you, Dr. Lewis. You're like, get you a short list. And even if you don't get to 100% of them, just apply. Indeed does a little thing where they'll kind of match up what you've got in your resume versus what the company wants. And I think I probably matched like 2 out of 8. But again, it was such a good culture fit that I was in. And that's how I got into the desktop support side of things. Now, to get to cybersecurity, I literally just asked if the cybersecurity boss needed help. I said, he was a one-man show at the time. It's still kind of a small company growing into a larger company, which is kind of fun. But I said, I just brought up to my boss, the IT support boss, is like, hey, the cybersecurity guy's a one-man show. Can we find some sort of overlap? Is there a way I can handle some menial stuff for him and learn and things like that? He's like, well, it's funny. He's actually looking to hire someone, so let's see if he'll give you an interview. He gave me an interview a day later. We did our interview, and I think an hour later, he said he wanted me in. So the answer is always no until you ask. So just remember that. Is there?
Yeah, I totally agree with what Mason said. I pretty much did the same thing. I had a list of companies that I targeted, about 10 or 12, mostly big names, and I'll be honest, I mostly got rejections from most of them, and I landed a couple of interviews with Cisco, with AWS, and luckily I got an offer from Cisco which I accepted. But yeah, pretty much did the same thing. If you feel like you don't qualify, I would suggest apply anyways. You never know. You might get a call back for an interview. And once you get a call back for the interview, do your research, what the company does, what their products are, and do a tech mock-up interview, and like just prepare for the interview. For my current role, how I got into this position, when I was working at my previous team, lab engineering team, I was working on a project where the Cisco was making a new tool, and for the testing purposes, they brought on team leads from different teams. They were senior network engineers, senior developers, senior management, and they brought on lab engineers as well. And but at that time, I was the team lead for that lab team across Americas. So they brought me on for validation and testing for the new tool, and that project gave me a lot of exposure to senior management, senior engineers, a lot of great talent out there. Once that project was over, my current manager reached out to me, and he asked me if I was interested for a consulting role for the next generation firewall team. And at that time, I was trying to break into security, which was my degree. So he reached out. He said, "Are you interested in working for next generation firewalls team?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." So I interviewed for that role, and I ended up getting that role, and that's where I've been working for the last couple of months. So yeah, I would say if you're not sure you're gonna get the job, apply anyways. And I would say LinkedIn is your best friend. Network with people, add people, ask people a couple of questions. Ask people questions how they got into the industry, ask for advice, talk to people. Networking, I would say networking to people in different companies.
You muted.
That would help you a lot.
Excellent. I would like to circle back to something was there said, and I think to some extent Mason did as well. The certificates, right? The certifications. FlexTech can help students when they pass the exam, pay for it. So take advantage of that. If you don't take advantage of it now, you're leaving money on the table. These certifications are not cheap. And if you pass it, talk to Dr. Lewis, and she'll be more than happy to help you out with that. Take advantage of the program funding on that. And that's one more thing that you can present to employers that can signal your preparation and level of skill. Now, one of the questions that I would like to ask you, Mason and then Uzair, is what part of your job is the most challenging? What is it that presents the most challenge to you as you go about doing your job in your current position?
In our current position, we're kind of a mom and pop shop that's trying to become a bigger company. So we've got about 5 different states and 20 different sites that over the past 2 years, a private equity company has purchased us. And we have, so I like to say we're like taking a bunch of little shacks and trying to build a mansion out of it. So standardizing everything is very difficult. Yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. Getting everything on the same page. We have roughly 1,200 assets, just end user desktops. That's not counting servers and our network equipment and all that stuff. We're just talking about end user facing devices, about 1,200 of them. So getting them all on the same page is a little bit of a challenge. Yeah, it's wrangling cats and taking rubble and building a house.
What about you, Uzair?
For myself, in my current role, I would say in consulting, every case or every project or every task we take on is different from one another. There is hardly a case. There's hardly any repetition. So I would say every case you take on is going to be entirely different than the previous one. So that can be a little bit challenging because you have to be really, I would say, know the product that you're selling. You're inside and out. You have to be on top of your top of everything in terms of research, your technical knowledge. That sometimes can be challenging. Secondly, I feel like in consulting especially, I feel like you really need to have a strong personality where you can, because sometimes what happens is when you get on a customer call, customers sometimes can be very hard to deal with, especially if it's a high severity case, P1, P2s. You get on a
You want to mute someone?
Yeah, when you get sometimes what happens is you take a case in the middle, or it can be you're helping out your colleague, or you take a case in the middle, you get on the customer call, and the customer is like really angry, or he or she is extremely frustrated. That can be challenging as well, trying to de-escalate the situation, trying to calm the customer down while you're troubleshooting, trying to figure out what the problem is, what the solution is. That I feel like can be sometimes challenging as well. But I'm pretty new to consulting, so that is something that I find challenging. But I'm pretty sure senior engineers they learn how to handle these kind of situations over time.
Thank you for the information and keeping it real for students that, it's not all the glamour of saying you're in cybersecurity, right?
Yeah, I would say there are good and bad days, definitely.
Thank you for the honesty.
But yeah, but there's definitely a lot to learn. You'll get to learn new stuff every day. Yeah, there's a lot of learning there.
Tara?
Yeah, thanks. So I'm going to circle back a little bit and ask you, what exactly do you do in your role? Like, what does your day-to-day-ish look like? Because I know sometimes every day is different, but what does that look like?
Fire up the emails, see what comes in. If there's any non-critical alerts that have come in, at least get that assigned to someone. I'm on a team of 3. It's myself and another gentleman are kind of the lower underlings, and then the big boss. So between the 2 of us, we try to, we'll have a call in the morning. We'll just get on like a Zoom call, kind of like this, but all audio. I'll share a screen and we'll both go through what alerts are going on, if anything's actually suspicious. It's a newer software, so everything needs tweaking, and that includes the alerts itself. So you're going to see so-and-so reset their password. Well, that's fine. We let them reset their own password. So we kind of filter out the chaff that way. We run weekly scans on all of our systems for Microsoft, what they call CVEs. It's basically their vulnerabilities. We see what's out there in the wild, what's affecting our systems, what's ugly malware, what vulnerabilities exist in our systems, and the best way to attack, how we're going to remediate, patch, and mitigate it, and not make it an issue anymore. On top of that, we have a kind of a needy boss who needs to know what we're doing all the time. So we pretty much live in teams. I got 3 monitors going. One monitor is almost specifically for teams to keep constant communication. Let's see, we've got that going on. As actual critical alerts coming up, we all stop and we all focus in on it. It's not only an incredible learning opportunity, but it's good to have a bunch of eyes on it and see things from different perspectives. Perspective has become a really, I've learned is a really important thing in the investigations part of what I would consider the many hats that we wear. SOC analyst is one of them. Not getting tunnel vision. And thinking just because you're pretty sure you dialed in on what the issue is, that's what it is. Because I've been dead wrong the last 2 times. So make sure you're humble. Don't get tunnel vision. Then there's the fun administrative stuff, working in corporate America, HR training, and just little admin stuff like that. So a lot of SOC analyst type stuff and patching systems.
Right now, for myself, we are a team of 35 engineers. The next generation firewall team is a team of 35 people, where we provide layer 2, layer 3 technical support to our customers, account teams, partners, and tech engineers. What that mean is customer open up the case with Cisco TAC, and they ask for help. It could be as simple as a configuration issue. It could be a production issue, whether the device rebooted or it failed to boot up, or it could be a routing issue. It could be a NAT issue. It could be an access list issues. So whatever case we get as a next generation firewalls team is related to the firewalls. It could be pretty much about anything. It could be a failover issue. So what we do is we grab the case and we get on the call with the customer, trying to narrow down what the problem is, and trying to come up with a solution. And once we have the solution, then we implement that solution in the customer's environment to restore connectivity. If it's a production issue, we make sure there's no downtime and the production is restored. That pretty much covers most of my day. From 10 to 2 is our time, where what we do is we pretty much do research, take trainings, do trainings, and do research on the topics that we need more time to work on. And then from 2 to 6:30 is where we spend time with the customers, take cases, help out customers, and yeah, that's pretty much it. And apart from taking cases and helping our customers, we also open up bug reports. Sometimes in our product, on our software, sometimes what happens is there's bugs, and we identify bugs, open up bug reports, file bugs, and collaborate with the developer teams in order to find the workaround those bugs.
All right, next up, what kinds of people would be a good fit for your role? Whether it be skills or attributes or anything you'd like to mention.
For my team in consulting, I would say technical skills, definitely, for sure. Apart from technical skills, I would say people skills are very important. In order to be successful in this team, people the candidate has to be a people's person, great communication skills. He or she should know how to de-escalate the situation, how to read people, how to communicate with people, and how to communicate, and most importantly, how to communicate and convey your technical knowledge to a non-technical person. For example, what I'm trying to say is sometimes what happened is you take a case, you get on the call, and what happened is the customer or whoever the customer is, they send, instead of sending an engineer on the call, they send their account manager, for example, who is a non-technical person. In that situation, it gets really hard to communicate with him or her because he or she is a non-technical person. So having those technical skills are important, but having soft skills is also important in consulting.
Very interesting.
I'd say you need to be a person who is constantly learning. The threat landscape is constantly evolving. You got to know that you're dealing with people. They wake up in the morning and they try to figure out how to get into your system, and then they go to sleep. And then they wake up and they try to figure out how to get into your system, and then they go to sleep because they only have to hit you one time. These ransoms are going for millions. If I told you that if you did one job one time and you made $1 million, you would wake up and you would eat, sleep, and breathe it. And that's who we're dealing with from all over the globe. So you need to constantly stay on top of that. Stay on top of your own systems because there's everything to learn in Microsoft. I mean, Microsoft spans so many things. That's just your own stuff. So constantly learning. Interpersonal skills is a big one. I didn't say it when I was interviewing, but I've got a lot of customer interfacing experience in sales, technical training, and things. And I think that's one of the reasons that my boss hired me. He cannot stand talking to people, but he is one of the most technically minded guys that I know. But I think I pretty much said, I'll fall on the sword anytime you need to talk to a customer about anything. So that helped a lot too. There's no substitute for being able to speak to a person. You can work a computer all day, but the wetware of a human is a different machine entirely. So yeah, always be learning, always be learning. Never think you've learned everything because it's probably going to change next year, and know how to talk to people.
Yeah, I agree with what Mason said. This industry is, I would say, is evolving very rapidly. So keeping yourself updated with newest technologies, newest concepts is very important. So learning is the way to go.
Well, both of you touched on a very important aspect besides the technical and the knowledge base that is needed to, that's assumed that you would have it. But when dealing with co-workers, with your employer, with your supervisor, with clients, customers, it's where it becomes crucial. The communication, interpersonal skills, conflict resolution or de-escalation. And both of you touched on a very aspect of perspective, right? You can have a not so good afternoon, but overall proportion is not everything, right? And there's a learning opportunity. What kind of advice would you give to students on how to develop the soft skills, right? Because it's not exactly taught in the classroom. Is it just experience going through an internship?
Yeah, I would say internship is a good way to go to learn that experience. For if I'm talking about myself, I learned it on the job experience. Going through different situations, and my coworkers would, like, if I made a mistake, they would come up and advise me on how to handle the situation better. So I would say for myself, I learned it through on the job trainings. But yeah, internship is one. Internship or like co-op programs is another way to learn those soft skills.
I'd say maybe jump into a help desk. I'm not just saying that because that's where I came from. But if you wanted to do help desk for a big company that has a big reach, and I'm talking like I almost got hired on with, I think, Samsung doing their cell phone help desk, and you're going to talk to all kinds of people there. Sales, I mean, it may not be, if you can find a more tech company that's more sales, just that's all face to face basically. But the experience in terms of soft skills of interpersonal relationships, just like IT skills, there's really no substitute for experience. You can read all the books you want, you can look at all the YouTube videos you want, but until you actually just walk up to someone and have a conversation with them, you're not going to have the experience. And until you dig into that system and actually maybe start your own home lab and figure out how to run with Metasploit and Kali Linux, it's, yeah. So I would say if you were looking for a way to point your ship, I would say probably customer service, because it's going to be technical and soft at the same time. That's a good move.
Tara?
Yeah, thanks for those tips. And, you know, you can practice with your classmates too, right? So, and your faculty, just, you know, start introducing yourself. Even the career fairs that we have coming up, even if you're not at the point where you're ready to apply for something, it's just great experience to be in that career fair and just have that, you know, like introducing yourself, talking to somebody, doing a little bit of that, like kind of networking. Those are always, that's going to help as well. So, how did y'all, you know, Mason, you talked a little bit about interview preparation. What was that interview process like for y'all? Like, as you interviewed, what are things you noticed? What are things you got asked? What advice would you have?
So interview prep is kind of knowing the basics. The technical questions I was given were some of the more basic ones. Difference between TCP, UDP. What's the difference between a switch and a router? Would describe the three-way handshake, things of that nature. Weren't really super technically involved, but I think also knowing what questions to ask your employer goes a very long way. Your certifications show that you are willing to put in the time and effort to go through the certification process. That's cool. But when you take an interest in the company as well, that really makes that boss perk up. A boss knows when they're just talking to, or an interviewer knows when they're just talking to someone. And an interviewer also knows when they're having a conversation with someone. And that's where the interpersonal stuff comes in. So ask the person, like, what does my day-to-day look like? Who am I working with? Am I replacing someone? If I'm replacing someone, what happened to them? What's the salary range? What's your management style? If you could tell me your weakness as a boss, what would that be? You end up having these fantastic conversations. Not only do you learn a lot about the company, will the boss or the interviewer learn a lot about you, but it makes you stand out in the interview process. Like, you're the person who they will remember these conversations. They'll bring it up a year and a half later. I was just talking to my CEO or my CIO about it. Our interview, we're just talking about our interview a year and a half later. So yeah, make sure to ask questions. You'll get some basic tech stuff. That's about how my interviews went, and some culture things. My new boss, this is a little insane, and he is a little insane too. But he asked me to make, he said, if you could test an elevator without getting on it, how would you do it? He also asked me to make my best gun sound. So I hate to say you don't know what you're going to get, but prepare for pretty much anything. Basics of IT. Ask questions about the boss and the company, and get ready for some cool culture questions.
Right.
Sounds like you had a very good, a very fun interview. Go ahead, Sarah. I'm sorry.
Right. No worries. For the position for my current role, I had 3 rounds of interviews.
Wow.
Yeah, one was pretty basic. They asked me 30 minutes interview, asked me my past experience, my academic experience, and my certifications and stuff. Pretty much all about myself. The second round was all technical. 1 hour interview. It was very technical. Started off as easy, asking CCNA networking questions like TCP/IP, UDP, ports, OSI 7 layers, and like what are the different layers of OSI? What are the example? What are the protocols? And like And then they jumped into complex questions like access lists, routing protocols, BGP, OSPF, EIGRP. So yeah, so my second round interview was very technical, and then the third round it was a behavioral interview where they gave me a bunch of scenarios, and then they asked me how would you react in that situation, just to see how my work ethics were. Yeah, I would say whenever you apply for a position, you could get a call back. Always do your due diligence. Do your research, what the company is about, what their work culture is, what their products are, what they sell, and like fresh your technical knowledge. And I've interviewed a lot before the Cisco role. I interviewed for a lot of positions before I landed this one. I've interviewed with Google, AWS, Red Hat, even though I got rejections, but I managed to go through the different rounds of interviews. So I usually have a document already prepped up that covers the technical knowledge and some of the behavioral questions and all that stuff that I need to go over before the interview. That's how I basically prep myself for the interviews. But yeah, I would say also if you can, a mock-up interview for an actual interview also helps you prepare for an actual interview.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Such gems of nuggets of knowledge. How about, so your manager and your supervisor, how do you develop rapport with them and a relationship with them? Can you speak to that?
Right. So my manager is actually really nice. I would say that he working in the industry for the last 2.5 years. He is one of the best managers that I've come across. He's super nice. He's very easy to talk to. We have our one-on-ones every weekly. So it's on every Friday at 4 p.m. and we basically sit down and we talk about pretty much everything. It could be a work issue. If it could be a personal issue that's affecting my work, my performance. I remember last week I had a little bit of performance issues on a customer call, and he did bring it up on our one-on-ones to see like if there was something that was affecting my performance. So I would say as a whole, Cisco as a whole, pretty much the managers I've seen, they are very I would say they are very they care for their team members. So my manager, he does his one-on-ones with me every weekly just to see what's happening in my life. If there's something that if I have something going on, he like, if I need to take a time off, if I need to refresh myself, he cares. So yes.
I usually say that the basis of all relationships, both personal and business, are about managing expectations. My wife and I just celebrated our 15-year anniversary, and people will frequently ask us, how do you guys do it? And I say, thank you. I say, knowing how you work well together and knowing how you don't work together. One of the reasons we get along so well is we don't do projects together, because she's a micromanager and I kind of flow with it. So now if there's a project, we do a project in different rooms. It works really well. But when I talk about managing expectations, this can be an interview question too, where you say, what are your expectations? What do you really expect me to have a good grasp on when I start this thing? What do you expect me to have a good grasp on in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days? The last person that you had here, someone who already exists in a position, or whomever I'm replacing, what were they weak on that I can be good at? Let them know what you aren't strong on. There is a reason they ask, what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses? So don't go puffing up your resume saying you're really good with Wireshark and Java, and you watched a couple YouTubes and you did an intro course, and they're going to expect you to know, and you're not going to meet that expectation. Now you're going to have problems. But having a very communicative very communicative relationship helps a lot. And with these days and the technology that we have, Zoom, Teams, phone calls, emails, there's no reason that you can't be constantly talking to where you almost annoy each other. But in my years of doing sales and customer facing this and that, I know when people are bristly, and my boss is a little bristly too. So we don't really talk to him in the morning because he gets hangry and he doesn't usually eat breakfast. We learned that. He doesn't like hand holding, so Google is your friend. Yeah, this is just kind of knowing how to navigate each person. So my boss is cool, but communication is everything, and yeah, managing expectations is a huge one.
Yeah, thanks for that. That's good to get a little personal on that. Yeah.
I know I asked what is the most challenging. Now it's my turn to ask you, what is the most interesting part of your job? What is it that makes you want to get up and go at it every day? The best part, the most interesting part.
For me, I would say the product itself, the product that we're selling, the firewalls. It's a really good product, and I like helping out customers. I would say the product is what is the most interesting thing to me.
I think
What
the company mission is a big one for me. That's what makes it interesting. And I work from home. That's really cool. I can't really turn my camera, but I've got a big screen over here that usually has Apex running. So if I ever take a break, just do that. The aspect that's really interesting is there's all this new technology that I haven't messed with before. Vulnerability management's kind of a new one. The newness is really nice. And some of our facilities are full-blown hospitals. Some are inpatient and outpatient facilities. And every single day, I just wake up and do God's mission, and that's to heal people every single day. And that's very, very interesting to me. Can't wait. I can't wait to wake up in the morning and do it.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. So we've got a few student questions. What are some sources that you use to study for certifications, and any tips that you have?
For me, I mostly like to use Udemy. Udemy, you can pretty much find any course or certification prep course on there. CompTIA, Cisco, Juniper, pretty much everything is on there. I personally like to use Udemy or Coursera.
Udemy is good. I noticed that if you have a specific certification in mind, they will usually put their exam objectives, and I'm talking more specific to CompTIA. They will put exactly what they want you to know. So you can just kind of print that off, make a list, YouTube it, read about it. Udemy courses, all of those different ways and means of learning each of those specific exam objectives. That's kind of the way I did it. I just took it chunk by chunk.
And I'm going to do a shout out we now have tutoring. So this is something we started new this year with FlexTech. We've got a tutor available Tuesday, Thursday, Friday evenings, and Saturdays noon to 5 over in the IT building here on the Frisco campus. His name's Dayspring, and he works in the industry, so he actually works for Datadogs, but he's available for help with tutoring for certs. He has access also to the practice exams for some of those, I think specifically Network Plus, perhaps Security Plus. I know he's been helping with some CCNA stuff. So take advantage of that. We'll put those hours in the chat as well. But yeah, Udemy, I keep hearing great things of that as a resource. Thanks. All right. Another question, I'll just keep going now. The other question we had with the constant learning and changes in technology, how do you retain sufficient information without becoming overwhelmed?
Right. That is a really good question. Like for myself, for me personally, I have a hard time like retaining information. If I'm like reading something and I'm like watching videos, it's very hard for me to retain information until I have a hands-on experience. So I would say, like, if you're taking, for example, if you're taking CEAs like ethical hacking, or if you're taking security plus, or if you're taking forensic analysis course, I would say try to build a lab, or in a home lab, or like try to do a hands-on of what you're learning in the course, in the videos, in your classes. I was hands-on experience is what helps me retain all that information, all that new knowledge, because I'm taking the theoretical knowledge and I'm implementing that in the lab environment. That helps me retain that information.
Yeah, I usually say that there's everything to learn, and I know people can find that daunting, but I choose to find that very exciting. But you can't just sit around and chase 5 rabbits. You're going to lose every single one of them, and you're going to end up tired. So pick a rabbit, whatever is interesting to you first, whatever you think is going to help you in your job. Like if you want to be like a knock or something like, I mean, we're talking cybersecurity. If we want to talk cybersecurity, shoot for things like, oh gosh, what would be one? Oh, I'm totally drawing a blank. Just do your Sec Plus. Look at the jobs that you want to apply for, see what skills they're looking for. Dive into that one, or pick 2 or 3 or something. I'm kind of a one at a time guy, but yeah, just look at some of the jobs that you want to get. Look what they want you to know. Dig into that one.
Awesome. All right. So, and then we had somebody with their hand raised. They want to
Yeah.
go ahead and ask the question. So,
I have a question. How do you keep up with the new updates? Like, do you read tech blogs, or like, how do you know? Because I know, like you guys both said, you have to be up to date to the new things that are coming in because it's constantly evolving. But how do you know, like, what else do you need to learn? What else is coming? I know you said something about, looking at other jobs, that what they're requiring and whatnot, but in your job, like, do you know by the new upgrades that are coming in your system, like by your job, or like, how do you know what you need to keep learning?
Oh, let's see. That's a pretty good question. How do you know what you need to keep learning? There's a couple of podcasts I listen to. There's, I think there's Unsupervised Learning. That's a good one. It's a gentleman who kind of aggregates a lot of cybersecurity news. So he'll basically do a lot of the reading for you and just briefly tell you what he read, his synopsis about it, and you can dig into that for if you find something that's good. I think Security Now is another good one. That's a long form one. Unsupervised Learning is about 15 minutes. Security Now, I think, can go about an hour and a half, maybe 2. But those are the 2 that I usually start with. There's some other ones, if I can get it pulled over here. Uzair, I'll let you take it over. If I find a couple, I'll put them in the chat, some links to some stuff I read.
Right. For myself, I pretty much do the same thing: podcasts, blogs, forums, reading forums. I for the blogs, I have a couple of blogs that I follow. One of them is TechCrunch, Gizmodo, Lifehacker, and then I like to read forums as well. Stack Overflow is one of my favorite ones. And that's pretty much how I keep myself updated. And
thanks. And then related to that, I think this is something everybody's kind of struggles with a little bit, is which CompTIA certification is good to start with. I think students hear a lot of different answers. So what are y'all's thoughts on this?
I would say CompTIA certification is the best way to go for that, and that's personally my opinion. You don't really have to like go if you think otherwise. But I personally feel like CompTIA is the best one to start with, especially A+. A plus would give you like a knowledge related to operating systems and hardware. And then from A plus, I would say go for Net plus. That would give you the technical skills that you need for related to networking, because I feel like networking is pretty much anywhere. If you don't have strong networking, you're gonna have a hard time in this industry. So from Net plus, A plus to Net plus, and then Net plus to Security plus. So Security plus would give you the technical knowledge related to cybersecurity, and then from there, it's all up to you where you want to go. From there, either you're interested in red teaming, or you're interested in purple teaming, or you're interested in cloud, or you're interested in something else. That after so A plus, Net plus, and CompTIA plus would give you a strong base, and from there is totally your decision where you want to take your career, where your interest is.
This will be a pretty quick response. Do everything that Uzair just said. That's the path I took. I skipped A plus for no good reason, but Uzair's dead on. Net plus is where I'd start if I had to start all over. Net plus, then go Sec plus. Yeah, show the dedication that you're willing to learn. Yeah.
All right.
Right.
Awesome.
One more thing I would like to add. If you know that you want to go for cybersecurity, I would say A plus, Net plus, Security plus, and then CISA plus, which is a cybersecurity analyst, and then CEH. That would give you a very strong base for a cybersecurity role as a red teamer, as a purple team, and as an analyst. That's my opinion.
Somebody asked about SailPoint. Any thoughts on that?
I'm not sure what SailPoint is, to be honest.
I don't either. Mason, do you know?
No, sorry.
Okay.
Let me Google it real quick and see if
Salesforce?
let me see if it's adjacent to what I'm doing.
Oh, Manuel, if you have something you know?
No, maybe Salesforce, maybe? I don't know.
No, I think, yeah. We'll Google that. Or Julie, do you want to expand on that? All right.
Sorry, I'm actually driving. That's why I couldn't talk.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I just wanted to know more about SailPoint, because SailPoint is also one of the security. Like, it's kind of something I wanted to know how to get into SailPoint. If I want to get into SailPoint, what do I have to do?
Huh. Okay, it looks like SailPoint is identity
I think
security for cloud, so that would be a good cloud question. I can connect you, Julie, with our Joe, who was our cloud security architect. He might have some info for you.
okay.
Turn right
No
on
worries.
All right. Sandra, you want to wrap us up?
Yeah, sorry, my light went off. I had to do the thing. So, so gosh, we are, y'all, this is so great. And we're hit 6 o'clock already. See how fast this time went. Just all that you've shared. Thank you so much. Maybe we could squeak in one more. Just a lesson that you learned that you would like to share with students. Just gonna be one more nugget.
I forget who said it, but it's like the more I learned, the less I knew, or something like that. That's a terrible paraphrase, and I'm going to Google that one and do whoever said that justice, because that was bad. It's like I thought I knew like 2 things. You're going to turn a stone over, you're going to find a bunch of other stuff. Oh gosh, what is it? It's just when I thought I knew a lot about like Active Directory or cloud stuff, there's 100 more things to learn as I learned that one thing. So just get ready to keep your thinking cap on. And that's, yeah, always in a state of learning.
Yeah, I completely agree with what Mason said. I totally agree with what you said.
Awesome. All right, and then Nora's got a follow-up survey. She's going to put the link in the chat so you can give us feedback on the IT factor so we can continue to make improvements and know what you're looking for. That'll help us program better. But I just want to say thank you so much for User and Mason for joining us today. I really appreciate it. Thank you for sharing your journey with us. Any last words? Anything else you want to wrap up with?
I would just like to say thank you for having us, giving us a chance to speak about our journey. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, same thing. Thanks for giving me the opportunity. I love to help out other people if I can. I guess one more brief thing I can do to help is that I've recently read that about 60% of people in IT say that they suffer from something called imposter syndrome. And that is, you know, you think you're a fraud, you don't deserve what you've got. Someone's going to find out that you don't know anything eventually. And that's kind of this fallacy we put ourselves in because there's so much to know. And there are people who know all that stuff. But all you have to do is know your job and know it well, and you will know that you deserve it. So just know what imposter syndrome is, read a little bit about it. It hits a lot of people in IT. So yeah, know it when you see it. And I have immense faith in you. If you ever woke up one day and didn't think you could do it, I totally believe that you can.
All right.
Excellent.
Yes.
Yay.
Yes.
And one last word, please do the survey. It will provide us much needed feedback and network with each other, right? Your classmates, your peer group, your faculty, your peers especially will not be students forever. Network with each other. This is your network. This is ground zero for establishing your network, right? Would you say that, Mason? Was there?
Right. Yeah. One last thing that I would like to say is, like, if any one of you is interested in a consulting career, please feel free to hit me up on LinkedIn.
Yay.
Cisco is actively hiring for different teams, and hit me up on LinkedIn so that I can understand where your interest is, and I can either, if you're interested in a next generation firewalls team, which is my team, we have 6 openings available right now, and I can send the job posting to Tara, and she can send you over. Or if you're interested in a different team, like a switching team or a routing team or a stealth watch, which is a cybersecurity and analyst team, feel free to hit me up on LinkedIn, and let's see what I can find for you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, same here. Find me on LinkedIn. I don't say no to anybody. So if you ask to be my friend, we'll be friends. And our HR team posts our open jobs internally, I think every week. So if you're interested in that, I'll pass that along to you. I know it's usually internal in nature, but we'll get it. If a good hire is a good hire, they don't care where it came from. And you're going to find that most of the job opportunities you get came from someone that you talked to previously. So yeah, let me know.
And then I put the link to our LinkedIn group in the chat, and both Mason and User are in that group. So that's a great way for y'all to connect. So yeah, do it. All right. Thank you both so much. Y'all have a great evening. We'll have another one of these in October. Look out for events that are happening in October. We'll see you soon.
Cool.
All right, thank you.
October's a big month, y'all. Get excited.
All right.
Bye.
Good to see
Thank
y'all.
you.
All right.
Nice to meet you all. Bye-bye.
Bye.